and gentlemen, hello there, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and this is Thursday. It is the 22nd of August. The month of August is already wrapping up. It's almost done. Summer, folks, is winding down already, and I, for one, could not be happier. Not a big fan of the heaty season. I like me the fall. The fall is perfect. It is the perfect season. It is perfect for cooking because you get all sorts of fantastic ingredients. No longer do you have to settle for goddamn salad because it's like 110 degrees Fahrenheit outside or like 40 degrees Celsius outside with humidity on top of that. Plus fashion. The fall fashion is fantastic. Everyone looks good in the fall, as opposed to during the summer where everyone looks like they're on meth. Because they're just wearing tank tops and everyone looks sweaty and their hair is down and everyone looks gross and you don't want to sit next to anyone on the bus. Fall is the better season. Robert Larry in the chat says, I was born in the summer. That has nothing on you. That's okay, Robert. You can be born in any season. Just so happens you were born in a suck season. Because who am I talking to, you may be asking right now? Well, I'm talking to the live chat who has joined me live right here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, because every Thursday night I come on this YouTube thing, this little website, maybe you've heard of it, and I do this live every Thursday. And give me just a quick second here because I think I'm going to adjust my lighting a bit. I look dark. It's really dark. That's a bit better. Yeah, that's better. It's sort of like, before I sort of felt like at any given moment, like a clown could step out of the shadows and strangle me. Now I feel secure. What was I saying? YouTube.com/MrWarrenHayes. Every Thursday night I do this live. So if you're watching this on demand on the YouTube channel, why don't you think about coming to join me 9 p.m. Eastern, and you're me, but also the fantastic chat, the fantastic people that I have in the chat that come here every Thursday, and I'm so fortunate to have here, such as fantastic people like Tim, like Robert, like Mr. Fretz, who's here as well, CM Phil, who's here as well. You have Hawkeye, and you have Zachary, who's here as well. Look, folks, it's the best place to come have a good moment of wrestling chat, along with someone who will, shout in your ear for the next 10 to 15 minutes. As if I could do a 10-15 minute podcast. Well, who am I kidding, right? So there we go. So do think about doing that. And if you are watching live right now, hey, give the video a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. Tweet the link out. Put it on your Facebook. Put it on your Tumblr. I don't know. Send the link out there. Let's get some people in here, because I've got stuff I want to talk about. And I want some reactions. I want some discussion. I want some stuff going on. But thank you very much for helping out, because it does help out when you link. If you're watching for the first time, consider a subscription. That's fantastic. And maybe you're even listening to this on your favorite podcast application, because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show can be found on all podcast applications. And if by any chance your podcast app of choice does not have the Mr. Warren Hayes Show on it, you send me a Twitter. Hit me up on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes, Mr. Warren Hayes, and you tell me, you say, Warren, I cannot find your podcast on Toothbrush Pod. It's the podcast. It's the podcast application for people who have perfect teeth, and I'll make sure it gets on there. So that's really cool. So please join in. Good to have you here. JPQ of the No Particular Angle podcast. How you doing? Jumping in. This is all great stuff, and I'm very, very fortunate to have you here. You know, your boy Warren is going to be really, really busy over the next couple of days. So before I start talking to you about that, do remember, folks, to go take a look at bell2bells.com, the absolute perfect place for all your women's wrestling coverage. Kristen Ashley right now of Bell to Bells. She is running a Queen of the Ring tournament, right? Because of the King of the Ring tournament. But she's doing this, and she's not just a couple of wrestlers. No. She went all out. 64 women. She's got like 1 million brackets, right? Because that's how it works. If you have 64 women, you have 1 million brackets to go along with it, right? Right? That's how math works. But go check it out. And you can vote every day. Every day you can vote. And she has all these women from Raw, SmackDown, Shore, NXT, but from the independent circuit, from North America, from Europe. She has Joshi wrestlers there as well. It's extremely thorough. Some people were even consulted on those. So go check it out. Bell2bells.com, BELLTOBELLES. And vote. You have to vote every day because there's a bracket that closes every day. And if you're like, oh no, Charlotte didn't get to go forward in the tournament. Well, because you didn't vote. It's because you didn't vote. And you know what it is? If you don't vote, you don't have the right to complain. So go check it out. I was saying that I'm going to be very busy over the next couple of days, and I shall, because next week is pretty packed. We have All Out next Saturday coming up on Labor Day weekend. We have Takeover Cardiff. We have Royal Quest coming up not this weekend, but the weekend after. There's a whole bunch. There's a concentration of things happening, right? So that's good for us wrestling fans, and it's good for us content creators because I'm going to be doing a bunch of things. Next Tuesday, I'm going to be joined by Anthony Suter of the SMARK to Death podcast. He is the biggest AEW mark I know. And he will be joining me for my All Out prediction show. And we're going to be doing it on Tuesday, special evening, special time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right? A half hour before SmackDown starts. We're going to do some predictions for All Out Tuesday. Then on Friday, then I'm doing this show on Thursday as well. Then on Friday, I'm going to have Laura Morrow back on the show to do a NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff prediction show on Friday with Laura. Laura is a huge British wrestling fan. She's a big fan of the independent circuit. She follows NXT UK. I'll be looking forward to talking to her. I talked to her last year, or not last year, but earlier this year, I should say, when TakeOver Blackpool happened, and we both agreed that we should do this again. So it'll be good. I'm going to touch base on her. I'm going to talk about the state of the independents as well in the UK, because there has been a couple of closures. Well, there has been one. Defiant Wrestling, formerly known as WCPW Wrestling, they shut down. There's another indie promotion that has also announced that it will be shutting down. I can't quite remember. But yeah. So, we're going to take the time to talk about all of that stuff, not just the matches. So do join us. Again, that'll be a special time. It'll be late afternoon because we're going to be broadcasting on British time. And that's going to be next Friday. And of course, don't forget my NXT UK 205 Live recap show, which is probably coming to an end over on FightfulSelect.com. I don't know what I'll be doing yet on Fightful Select, because I know what I'm doing on Fightful. I'm going to be covering NXT live. I'll be doing the post shows with Sean and Alex Pulowski on Wednesdays. So I'm not quite sure what I'm doing on Select. I'm going to figure it out. Sean and I have some ideas. We'll keep you posted. It's the best way to just hang around here. Hang around here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or on Twitter at MrWarrenHayes. Thank you, everyone, for jumping in. Remember to like the video. I really do like likes. Who doesn't like likes? Everyone likes likes. Yes, everyone likes likes. All right, let's start. Let's get it started. Let's start talking. We're gonna start straight off the bat. Let's do the WWE inspection. All right, wait, what? No. We don't need the intro music though. Again, Warren. It was a big week for WWE again. Good episode of Raw. Very, very frustrating episode of SmackDown, but we're gonna get into it. And as you know, I'm gonna be giving out my labels, my seals of approval or disapproval, or just of overall apathy to a few segments that held on to my attention. So we're going to start by giving the first label of the evening to the opening match of Raw this week, Roman Reigns versus Dolph Ziggler. I'm going to give that one a cool beans. Yeah, I'm going to give that one cool beans. It was I really liked the match, and I found that these days I find that WWE are booking Roman Reigns very, very well. He's not being pushed down our throats. He's not being overexposed. They're keeping him out of title pictures, which I think is really smart, and putting him in an angle that we actually kind of care about right up until this week. But things are going very well for Roman, I find. So, and I love the pace of the match. There was some great moves. That zigzag on the floor looked fantastic. The spear that ended it was sold perfectly by Dolph. I guess my only issue here is that this was a SmackDown show, because these are both SmackDown guys. This was a SmackDown match. I mean, these are both SmackDown guys. I don't know. And I would have liked Dolph to continue his gimmick where, he picks up the microphone at the end and asks for some more punishment. I'm sort of disappointed that he's not going to do that, apparently. So, all right, what are you going to do? That's fine. So that was my first cool beans of the evening. I'm going to move on and, from cool beans, moving on to some hot trash then. The use of women on Raw again this week, and I can even extend this to SmackDown. I wrote here in my notes on Raw, but I can also extend this to SmackDown. And before you get up in arms, give me a second here. I'm gonna nuance this a bit. Yes, Becky Lynch was on the show, and she had a hot promo. That was so good. That line where she said, "Sasha, you're the greatest woman on the wrestler to never be great." It's the Becky that we love when she starts cutting those promos. That was fantastic. Sasha got a short promo, but then she beat the shit out of Natalya. First of all, the promo that she got when she was interviewed by Michael Cole, all she talked about was her hair. I loved it. It's like, I don't give a shit about this interview. Let's talk about my blue hair. Then she goes backstage and she beat the shit out of Natalya the week before. She beats the shit out of her again. Plus she says, say hi to your dad. What is it? I'm sending you to hell. Say hi to your dad. Something like that. I'm like, Sasha Banks has not zero. She has no more fucks to give. That's it. I mean, she's completely out of it. Fantastic stuff. Yes, like Mr. Fritz says, go to hell, say hi to your dad. My God, that was awesome. She was so good. Alexa and Nikki got a match against Fire and Desire, which was fine, but it wasn't a non-title match for the titles, which I don't know why you wouldn't have made it a non-title match. They won anyway, made it a title match. They won anyway, didn't they? But here's where my main problem here is that the only women's match that we got on Raw was in the third hour. We had nothing, no other women's matches during the entire previous 2 hours of Raw. On SmackDown, we didn't even get a single match. We got a moment of bliss where Bayley came out and essentially shoved Charlotte off a chair. I've said this before and I've said it again. Why isn't WWE creating new women's stars? And we had an egregious example here of them doing exactly the opposite of what they need to be doing. They are painting themselves into a corner again, exactly like what happened after WrestleMania, where we have to pull out fucking Lacey Evans to have a match against Becky that isn't immediately going back to Charlotte, or burning through Bayley, or Sasha wasn't around, but saving they're just right now, again, they're just completely focused on the 4 horsewomen, which is okay because on one hand, you should have the 4 horsewomen in your main event because they are all great. However, in the meantime, you need to be building credible threats to these women, and they're not. And don't tell me they are, because they're not. Leading up to SummerSlam, they put Natalya back in the spotlight, and they put Ember Moon into a title program. Immediately after SummerSlam is done, after Natalya puts on a hell of a show with Becky, and Ember manages to shine in the position she was put in, immediately after, then Natalya gets buried. She has an injury, and then she gets knocked the shit out by Sasha, and then has the shit knocked out of her again this week. And Ember Moon loses, and we don't even see her this week. So they're not building stars. They're once again going around being focused on the titles. There's an argument to be made for Nikki Cross. Right now, she's being positioned as something special. But what they're doing with her is ultimately going to serve her into a feud with Alexa Bliss, which is what we want. Don't get me wrong. But you need to do more than just building one woman at a time. There can be undercard feuds with the women. It can happen. And they don't always have to have goofy storylines that involve men or makeup or handbags. I don't know what, they're wrestlers. They can feud about wrestling things like Sasha and Becky. It's no nonsense. It's not something where it's like, oh, look at how she paints her nails. It's disgusting. No, it's just Sasha comes in. She's whooping some ass. Becky wants to whoop her ass. Everyone wants to, they both want to whoop each other's asses. That's a wrestling feud. That's all you have to do with your women. And by God, there are women on that roster that you're doing nothing with. There's no reason to keep the Kabuki Warriors a thing. Split up Kairi and Asuka. Asuka can be turned on like that and she'll be credible. Build Kairi. I swear people are waiting to like Kairi Sane. Oh my God. Okay. Look, I have a lot more to rant on tonight, so I'm not going to waste too much time. That was hot trash. I'm going to take the opportunity to say hello to Soul, who joined the chat. How you doing? Kristen Ashley. She heard I was talking about her, so she popped in. Hi. And the boys at Kayfabe TV are here as well, despite the moving day. Thank you for coming over. And Carlos is here as well. He just popped in. There we go. So that for me, definitely hot trash. I want to talk about the King of the Ring now. We had the first brackets of the King of the Ring that occurred this week, and I'm going to go right ahead. I'm going to label this one. To me, right now, the King of the Ring is warm soda. There's some good, there's some not so good, and it sort of evens out. And for now, I'm very, very flat on it. I'm going to walk through it. Jason PS3, how you doing? First and foremost, Samoa Joe versus Cesaro is everything we wanted out of a Joe Cesaro match. It was, first of all, a fantastic match to open the tournament. You couldn't have picked a better match to kick off the King of the Ring tournament. And they laid into each other so hard. It was such a brutal match. That kick that Joe ate to his face. Ooh. That was some hard stuff. Samoa Joe ended up winning that one, sort of breaking up my bracket from the get-go. Thank you, Joe. And then on the same show, just a little later on, we got Cedric Alexander versus Sami Zayn, which should have been something special, which could have been something special. But instead, it was just so cut and dry and finito, just like really, really quick, over and done kind of thing. Like, really? Really? Okay. I don't know why they kept it so short and why it was so nothing. Then we headed over to SmackDown. We had Andrade versus Apollo Crews, which was another great match. Apollo had a fantastic showing, better than Andrade. I think I found Andre gave him Andre 3000. That's what I'm going to call him from now on. No, I can't call him that because 3000 is a surname. Andrade versus Apollo. Apollo had this great drop kick as he was intercepting Andrade that was flying off the ropes. He had a pop-up gutbuster at some point, which was really cool. They both had some fantastic strikes. Andrade won it. Good match. And then Kevin Owens lost. But we're going to get into the Kevin Owens thing specifically in a little while. I'm very, very torn because I honestly thought that this would be that the whole tournament would all be about giving us some really great matches. You know, I don't expect WWE to go all out with a real deal, true to form tournament, you know, something as huge or as sprawling or as competitive or sporting as the G1. But I kind of did expect them to give us something that we could chew on a little. And when it started off with Joe and Cesaro and the great match they had, I was like, this is fantastic. Cedric and Sammy was a bit of a cold shower. Andrade was versus Apollo again. And then the Kevin Owens stuff was another cold shower. Like, I really thought that this was, you know, they keep talking about how this is a platform to push new stars. Well, you're not going to push new stars if you have them have 5-minute match in what is supposed to be a competitive tournament. They're all coming out and looking at the throne, you know, and it's like, hey, I could be sitting here. You know, it's like our it's like the WrestleMania sign, you know, it's like, hey, look at the throne. I could have been wearing the crown. I could have the scepter with the crown, and I can sit on the throne, and then I be the Lannister of the WWE. I don't know who talks like that in WWE. I don't make up your own wrestler. Create them in 2K20 if you want to lose your money on that game. But anyway, the point is that I'm very cooled off on the King of the Ring tournament right now. I'm still looking forward to some matches. There's some great stuff coming up, but it's starting to feel like I didn't want to feel. Anyway, but you know what? Let's talk about our my brackets though, because I updated my brackets with the new results. Let me pull them up here, right up the upper left hand corner here, or right hand. It's my left, your right. Don't get me involved. Keep me out of this. I want to say hello, by the way, to Joe Anthony, Aaron's J Fan, Daniel Price, who are all joining in the chat now. How you doing? So as you see now, I updated the second round brackets. Out of Joe and Drew, I think Drew does keep going forward. I'm sticking to the plan. I'm sticking to the plan where Drew McIntyre is still going to be the winner here. I still think Cedric is going to beat Baron Corbin because of the fact that you have nothing but heels on the upper brackets on the Raw side. You have nothing but heels. You can't put Baron Corbin will not work properly if you have him face heels. And I think, you know, Cedric is going to get a good push out of this. On the SmackDown side, I can't see Elias going forward. I really don't. He's fighting Buddy Murphy. Jesus. Buddy should murder him, essentially. And I'm still sticking with Andrade over with Chad Gable going forward. And I sort of twisted things around a bit. And I still think Drew wins, but I think we're going to get a finals with Andrade, which should kick ass. So those are my updated brackets right there, so that we can talk about them later and you can all make fun of me. And it's like I keep saying, you know, when I talk about predictions and stuff, I like to be surprised. I prefer to be surprised than have properly predicted everything. I really do. But at some point, I don't want to be surprised to the point where Shane McMahon gets involved in stuff. And anyway, give me a second here. All right. So the King of the Ring, that's out of the way. Hot trash. Dominic Mysterio's promo. Oh my God. Doesn't anyone vet anyone before putting them on air? Have them like read the script and like, hey, can you deliver lines without sounding like you're a piece of wood? Jesus, that was bad, man. That was really, really bad. That was awful. I did not, and he put his arms on Ray's, and it was not just the delivery. He put his arms on Ray's shoulders, and Ray was emoting, he was being emotional. His son is talking to him, was like, Dad, I want to fight with you. And and he's just staying right there. Dad, I want to tell my children and my grandchildren that I, Dominic, fought with my dad in a WWE ring in WWE. It was, that was really bad. I don't know who decided that was a good idea, because I can tell you one thing, it wasn't. You know what was a good idea though? Putting Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman in a program together, which is actually working. And you know what I noticed here? It's a lot of fun. I really like it. I like the relationship that they're developing between the both of them. First and foremost, the angle is fun. Seth is, have you noticed? He's not being a stupid babyface. I think he's cured. I think he's cured about being a stupid babyface, because he's been telling Braun, look, I know you want the Universal title, but why don't we do this? Let's just get this out of the way. He's going forward with stuff. And I'm like, good job, Seth. You're recognizing things. Good on you. I like that. It makes sense to me. And that's what we want from our baby faces. We don't want them to be fucking morons. And Braun, they're cutting down on his promo time, not having him cut promos. It's just escaping me right now. But this one interaction that they had where Seth was like, hey, why don't we go and why don't we challenge those dudes for the OC for the titles? And Braun's response to everything that Seth was saying was just like, It was just a grunt. And that's it. That's Braun Strowman, right? Look, this is really good. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the titles, because, I've said it before, I said it again. Two singles guys should not be defeating tag team dudes so easily, because the guys who are the tag team are tag team experts. The singles guys are not. Even if it is Braun Strowman, even if it is your Universal Champion, I'm in wait and see mode for this before I really complain. Right now, I think it's fun, and it's the most fun Seth has been in a while. So that's cool beans. How about another cool beans? The coolest of beans. The Randy Orton revival angle. Oh! They continued what they had set up last week on SmackDown, where the New Day are they're fighting. Randy Orton runs in literally out of nowhere, perfect camera work, runs in out of nowhere to RKO Big E. Big E was in the middle of of a hot tag, and he and the Revival then go ahead and demolish Kofi, Woods. It was fantastic. And the Revival and Orton look perfect as a unit, as a stable, whatever you want to call them. They look amazing together, all three of them. It works. They're credible. Orton looks motivated. He feels motivated. The Revival are obviously loving this. Loved. The Revival setting Woods up and breaking his leg, and Orton holding up holding up Kofi's head so that he can see it happening. And loved on top of that, Big E was completely taken out of the match or of the post-match beatdown. He sold that RKO like he was shot in the back. And isn't that what the RKO is? It's probably the most protected finisher in for years. Isn't that what it's all about? I love this angle so damn much. And the Revival have never felt more relevant or stronger or meaner. They don't feel like a semi-comedy thing. Orton, Jesus Christ, Randy Orton giving me goosebumps in 2019. I loved how this went down. I loved how it was executed. Everyone played their parts perfectly in that angle. That, as they say in the business, folks, was good shit, pal. So then, of course, there's going to be a follow-up on that on SmackDown, right? Especially since it starts off with Randy Orton coming out, cutting a promo, fantastic, motivated promo. Like, Randy Orton is really sinking his teeth into this. He's having a good time, you can tell. And then Kofi Kingston comes out of nowhere and starts and beats him up with a chair. And then he beats up the Revival as well. It kind of left me indifferent, though. I'm warm sodaing this one. It kind of Kofi's run-in kind of fell flat. Felt a little predictable. And it wasn't quite the result that they wanted, I don't think. Kofi doesn't come off as an aggressor. He doesn't come across as someone who it doesn't work in his personality. It felt a little weird, felt a little contrived. Didn't quite care for it, but I mean, this is still a really, really good angle. Daniel Bryan versus Buddy Murphy is cool beans. I really, really, really dug this match with Daniel Bryan putting Murphy over. Fantastic stuff. Oh my God. I really liked this submission sequence. They had a submission sequence here, right? Where Daniel Bryan has the yes lock on Buddy Murphy. And this is what I like so much about Daniel Bryan. And it's stuff you see overseas or in other promotions and you don't see much in WWE, but Daniel Bryan doesn't give a shit. And he has a yes lock on and it wasn't working. He wasn't getting the results. So instead of just staying in the hold as long as you can, allowing Buddy Murphy to power out, well, he transitions into other holds to keep Murphy down and away from the ropes. It makes sense. It's great stuff. It's something that you can believe in. Super fun final third where Murphy and Bryan are just laying into each other. And I love the ending where Buddy covers Daniel Bryan. Bryan has the leg on the rope and Eric Rowan jumps up on the apron and he's shouting to the ref, he's got his foot on the rope. He's got his foot on the rope. He didn't interfere. He didn't go shove the foot. He's like, no, I care about Daniel Bryan. I thought it was a nice little touch. And there was a couple of near falls after that. And Buddy Murphy hit Murphy's Law and got the win. This was so good. So good. Are we going to talk about it now? I think this is where I should talk about it. Yeah. So that was cool beans. Spoiler alert, probably the last cool beans I'm going to be giving. Because we're going to talk about some hot trash now. We're going to talk about Kevin Owens losing in the first round of the King of the Ring tournament. The match itself was fine for what it was. I thought Elias looked good. I thought that spinning sit-out powerbomb that he did was nice. Very, very nice. But why did they do this? Why did they do the angle? I like the idea of Kevin Owens being in a position where he's been fined $100,000, where he feels he has to dial it back a little and play nice because the boss is ruining his livelihood, because $100,000 is a shit ton of money. He's like, okay. Yes, I'll apologize. Yes, I'll do. Yes, okay. And he appeals to Shane. I like that stuff. It feels out of character in WWE, but it's fine. But why are we bringing Shane and Kevin Owens back into an actual feud? Why are we doing this again? At SummerSlam a couple of weeks ago, Kevin Owens squashed Shane McMahon. He didn't beat him, he squashed him. That was the end of the feud right there. That is absolutely the end. I don't know why it did. They felt that it had to go on. It's just like, why are they continuing with this? And why did they pull this during the King of the Ring tournament? Again, this kind of like what I said earlier. The expectations here were that we were going to get a tournament, that we were going to get a competitive tournament, but using it to forward angles? I don't know, man. I really, really don't know. I don't understand why this was a thing. I really don't know why this is a thing. And it bothers me. It bothers me because I really think Kevin Owens should be moving on and feuding with wrestlers, not Shane McMahon. And I really think that the King of the Ring tournament was not the place to pull this off. So this was all very weird. But then, on top of that, the final hot trash of the evening, the hottest of the hot trash, the reveal, the big reveal. Who attacked Roman Reigns, guys? Who attacked Roman Reigns? It was a guy. It was a guy who looked like Rowan. I hated this so much, and I am going to tell you why. First and foremost, Daniel Bryan, the Captain Planet, the left-wing liberal of the WWE, brings in a dude. He obviously is being kept under duress with a hood over his head. Locks him in a room. Didn't set out like pastries or some refreshments. No, he just left him there. Not even a bottle to piss in. Then he leaves. He does his matches and stuff, and he goes back to him at the very end of the show. And he says, we've conducted our investigation and we're going through with it. And David Otunga, who for some reason beyond me, someone said, hey, Corey Graves isn't here. He's on vacation. Let's put Otunga in his place. Someone thought that was a good idea. David Otunga going on his, I have lawyer friends who have vetted Daniel Bryan's process and his forensic evidence. First of all, Otunga, what the hell is this? And he went on this a couple of times. What the hell is up with his weird lawyer flexing on TV? That's ridiculous. To begin with, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? First and foremost. Second, remind me if I ever need a lawyer to vet them properly to make sure they're not David Otunga's friends. Because if David Otunga's friend lawyer vetted Daniel Bryan's process and forensic evidence into this shit, then he is, or she is, a terrible lawyer. God damn David Otunga. Anyway, so they do the reveal. They do the reveal and they pull the head off, and then everyone just stands around in silence, sort of looking at each other. Okay? Now I get what they're doing. They're doing a cliffhanger where they're ending Raw with, well, who is this guy? Nobody knows. And they're doing cliffhangers, and this is what everyone in WWE says. Well, shows end with cliffhangers all the time. Right. However, we are meant to believe that Raw, that everything that's happening on Raw is happening live. It's happening before our eyes. It's a live event. So technically, from the moment that the show ends here, let me wrap this up. Let me approach this a different way. If you're watching any other scripted television show that ends on a cliffhanger, one episode, 1 week, the week after that, or even the season after that, is going to start off within the same time frame where it ended the week before or the year before. There's not going to be a week that's passed literally in the timeline of the story, right? Here, we're led to believe that at the end of this show, Rowan, Brian, and not Eric Rowan, let's call him that. Eric Rowan and not Eric Rowan, that they all stayed around in that one room and they all sort of stared at each other. It's like, well, Roman will tell you next week who it is. And Roman's like, sure, that's fine. Does any of this make sense? How does any of this make sense? Like I get it's a cliffhanger, but that's not how it, or at least it ends with Roman flipping some tables over and then the heels flee with their captive, with not Eric Rowan, because Roman is pissed and he wants answers and he's lost his mind or something. Something that prevents us from getting the information we need now. My God. And this is an egregious example of WWE storytelling where you think now, oh, the storyline is progressing. It is not. This is not storyline progression. This is a red herring. It's a monkey wrench. It's stupid. We were supposed to get some kind of reveal. We did not. This was all disappointment. God damn. I hated this. I hate this so much. I hated the ending of SmackDown. And I cannot wait to see how they make this work next week. Because it's not a reveal. Here's the thing, folks. It's not a reveal. It's not adding to the story if we don't know who it is. At least when Scooby-Doo and the gang would reveal who the ghost was, it would be, at the bare minimum, the guy that told them not to go up to the old manor on the side of the road and that you didn't see for the rest of the episode. At least we could connect that dot. There's nothing to connect here. Who the fuck was that guy? We have to wait a week, and Roman has to wait a week. It's stupid. That was the WWE inspection. Oh, how's everybody doing? Hey, by the way, if you haven't already, please do consider giving the video a like right here on youtube.com. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast application, do consider giving a follow, a like, a subscription, a review. All of that good stuff helps. And if you also want to help, buy my t-shirt. It's at whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead, because by God, I'm very much alive. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now if the blood wasn't coursing, pumping through my veins right now. Buy the goddamn t-shirt. whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. And if you feel up to it as well, you can also leave me a tip at tinyurl.com/tipwarren. Those are all great ways to show support. Whew. Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Hope everyone's having a good time. I haven't been watching much of the chat. I apologize. Let me take a moment here to just go through chat a little bit. I'm sorry, folks. I got involved. Kristen says Warren is going to crash hard in about 15 minutes. She knows me too well. Kayfabe TV says this is my first Warren rant. Welcome. This is officially your initiation. This was your hazing. Good job. Daniel Price says, I mean, come on. Reigns couldn't have gotten to a middle-aged man in an unguarded room for 2 hours. Was he too busy wetting his hair and not watching monitors? Yeah. See, that's an excellent point. Everything's being broadcast on TV. Good. I'm not going to get back into it. Yeah, but excellent point, Daniel Price. And Soul says, I mean, this guy tried to murder you, Roman. That's right. Joe Anthony says, I don't hate the red herring. I hate the fact that SmackDown Live ended with no reaction from Roman. Well, yes. Just silence for a solid minute. And CM Phil says, remember when Daniel Bryan had a big announcement? Yes, his career-shattering, career-changing announcement. I remember that. And Carlos is worried about my level of hydration. Don't worry, Carlos. I am really thirsty, though. Sure got hot in here. All right, so let's move on. Let's talk about other stuff. Let's talk about stuff that won't get me all hyped up like that. But still, some great news. Eve Wrestling, based in the UK. Sure you've heard about it. Perhaps you've even had the opportunity to watch it. Bastion of women's wrestling over in the UK. Eve has always done their own thing, right? And they're a fantastic promotion, and they've been the springboard for the careers of so many fantastic women who are even now wrestling in NXT UK. Well, a couple of weeks ago, it was announced that Eve had become unionized in the UK under Equity. Equity is what it was formerly known as the British Actors Equity Association, and it's a trade union. It's a performance trade union for theater directors, fight directors, choreographers, set designers, costume designers, lighting designers, actors, stage managers, models, and performers in the United Kingdom. So basically, a kind of a Screen Actors Guild, right? And a few weeks ago, Eve announced that they had come to an agreement with Equity to unionize their wrestlers, which was which is a huge deal, because the stories about North American wrestlers wanting to unionize is very well documented. The efforts put forth by promotion heads, Vince McMahon, and others, not just Vince, but others as well, to try and stifle that, have also been storied. But this is absolutely fantastic. In a nutshell, what it means is that wrestlers get insurance in case they get injured. It also provides wrestlers with liability insurance, such as if a fan decides to sue them for whatever reason. So that's also fantastic. Entitles them to free and confidential legal advice. Let's say they get a very, very wordy and complex and multi-paged wrestling contract from a larger promotion. Well, then they can have access to some legal help to read through it. And there was an article that was released. I think it was yesterday or the day before. Yeah, it was yesterday. It was put out in the Sunday Times. Well, then it was probably on Sunday. But anyway, Dan Reed, who is a part owner of Eve, tweeted the article, basically saying, which basically talks about the fact that wrestlers are considered performers. The union, the Equity Union, basically said professional wrestlers, and I'm quoting here, Professional wrestlers are highly skilled performers deserving of recognition and support that equity can provide. Wrestling combines aspects of acting, dancing, physical theater, and circus. It also means that they get what they call a dignity at work policy, which basically protects wrestlers from derogatory comments, insulting behavior, or things that can undermine a person's self-esteem. In the same article, they also say, that the code of conduct is this code of conduct is a little, it's going to be a work in progress. They're going to feel some stuff around and adjust as they go on. But I mean, this is fantastic news. And I'd like to take a moment to read Dan Reed's. That's not even a joke. I didn't even try. I'd like to take a moment to read Dan's thread here, what he posted on Twitter, which I thought was fantastic and was directed at Jim Cornette. And I'm assuming that Cornette had something to say about not liking unions and that wrestlers unionizing is not a good thing, and that performers. Anyway, I don't know. I'm not aware of Cornette's comments, but this is what Dan had to say. He said, "For years, wrestling has effectively lied to people on what it was when trying to protect kayfabe. This killed a great deal of trust from the outside world towards pro wrestling and thus wrestlers. Excuse me. Acknowledging what professional wrestling is moves us away from the carny days and puts emphasis on the word professional. Acknowledging all the skills that a person must train in, learn, and develop to be able to become and perform as a professional wrestler helps move the business further forward and actually encourages new fans. By acknowledging that wrestlers learn skills such as acting, stunt performing, fight choreography, improv, and ad-lib, among others, we educate the world on just how amazing these professional wrestlers are. This will also help wrestlers move on to other entertainment fields for post-wrestling careers because they will be recognized for the skills they have learned and are able to provide. Wrestlers being recognized as multi-skilled performers really has zero drawbacks." He goes on, he says, "Though I am sure," this is still Dan Reed, of course, "though I am sure this part of my thread will go down like a lead balloon, I have a great deal of respect for what Jim Cornette has achieved in the professional wrestling industry, and I believe you don't have to agree with someone personally to respect their body of work," which is kind of how I feel about Cornette. Excuse me. I get what Cornette says when he talks about people needing to believe in stars and emotionally invest in matches, but I also believe we have evolved past just it needs to be real. We keep going to the movies to watch Marvel movies because we are invested in the characters. There are multiple reports and filming of cinema goers literally cheering when Thanos was killed and faded away in Avengers Endgame. Spoiler. These people, should have said before, right? These people didn't need to believe it was real in order to care. They just needed a good story with good characters in order to feel. Any blame, if there is any, on a lack of stars or matches feeling big or important lands solely at the feet of those handling the creative decision making. It has nothing to do with the description of what a wrestler is, or what a wrestling show is, or how public it is. This thread, folks, no joke, when I read it the first time, gave me shivers. It gave me absolute shivers. Because in a nutshell, this is essentially what I feel in regards to professional wrestling. By the way, in regards to his Avengers comment about Endgame, folks, when I saw Endgame, I saw it twice. I saw it once by myself and I saw it with my daughter. Both times, people cheered. Spoiler alert, go like this if you haven't seen Endgame and you want to know what I'm about to say. You ready? People cheered when Captain America picked up Mjolnir. A rousing cheer happened in the audience to a film. So this goes to the point where you get good characters, you get good performance, people will get attached to it. This is absolutely fantastic news. And it is the most sensible view of professional wrestling that I have seen, that I have read about in a long, long time. Because here's the thing. It gives wrestlers the opportunity, as Reed says, gives the wrestlers the opportunity to be recognized for the skill set that they're developing. On WWE, they are required to do so much, not just be good in the ring. They're required to do so much that they should be able to capitalize off of the skills that they develop outside of the wrestling business when at some point they're like, you know what, my body can't take this anymore. My body can't take 200 days on the road taking bumps. And I think this is legitimate. I think this is absolutely, absolutely legitimate. And I salute Eve Wrestling for doing this. Now, the question that I have, what pops into my mind here, what leg does WWE have to stand on, now that we sort of develop this vision of what a professional wrestler is, and if they can be recognized by a performing union, a union of creatives, as they like to call themselves. What leg does WWE still have to stand on if they don't consider their talent the same way? The stories are true, by the way, of Vince McMahon wanting to move away from the term professional wrestling into sports entertainment so that he wouldn't have to pay fees to athletic commissions, to state athletic commissions. There were some athletic commissions who decided to tweak their rules a little, like in Kentucky, to sort of include the scope of work that WWE would do to continue to get like this free cash being pumped into their coffers, essentially. But I really feel like WWE at this point, with such an important statement being made here, WWE is no longer in a position to have its cake and eat it as well. If you're not going to play nice if you're not going to call yourself a sport because you don't want to have to play with athletic commissions, and you're not a combat sport, and you're entertainment, well, then your entertainers should get some form of protection for what they're doing. Stuntmen and women get all sorts of insurance coverage. They do. And basically here, your performers are going out there, they're making your company millions of dollars, and they're not getting any benefits to ensure that they can have a long-standing career in wrestling. And I'm going to leave it as such for now. But there's a lot of soul searching that has to and you know what? Here's another thing. Here's the last parting thought. Where, is it sports entertainment? Yeah, but it's still wrestling. Just a couple of weeks, I think it was last week or a couple of days ago. I think it was last week after the Buddy Murphy match. Roman Reigns called himself the best performing fighter of all time. Something like that. Performing fighter. And that got a lot of people worked up. He's not calling himself a sports entertainer. He's not calling himself a wrestler. He's calling himself a performance fighter, a performing fighter. I mean, we're skirting around and we're adding the word performance. We're talking about performance when we talk about wrestlers. We don't always talk about fights anymore. Put on a hell of a show, a hell of a performance. These guys, they work well together. We know it's not a fight. We know this is a show, that they're performances. So what are we waiting for? What is WWE? Well, I know what WWE is waiting for. They don't want to have to deal with the union. They want to keep on doing the same thing that they've been doing over and over again for years. Just, work the wrestlers to the bone. They want to continue having wrestlers drive themselves and rent their own cars and book their own flights to destinations because, that's tradition in the business. That's the tradition. You jump in a car with your travel partner, with your tag team partner, with your buddies, your stablemates, and you bond and you drive for 12 hours. You sleep for 3. You train for 2. But you guys drive. You do the driving. They don't want to create these conditions for these wrestlers. The thing is, I'm sure most of you know by now, if you've been following my body of work, I'm a progressive. I think forward. The past is something you build on. It's not something you live in. The traditions and the establishment that was made in the past is fantastic. If wrestling exists how it exists today, it was done thanks to the sacrifice and the toil of so many hundreds and thousands of wrestlers before those that we have here. But the business has changed. It has grown. It has evolved, and it will continue to change. And I think it's about time that the business practices that go around wrestling change as well. So, good on Eve for what they did here. I appreciate that. All right, finally, ladies and gents, one last thing. Let's before we wrap up, let's talk about AEW. Anthony Suter from Smark to Death is here. He'll be real happy. He doesn't want to talk about anything else except AEW. Hey, you heard about AEW? It's so good. It's such a great wrestling promotion, AEW. Let's talk about AEW. All Out is coming 2 weekends from now. Not next Saturday, Saturday after that. I'm really looking forward to it. Earlier this week on Twitter, I started thinking, you start thinking about these things coming up. At All Out, AEW will be crowning its very first world champion on the male side, of course. They'll be crowning their world female champion in a couple of weeks on a TV show. But as it stands right now, we've got, but right now we have AEW coming in with their men. So Chad, I want to hear you. I want you to chime in on this. I want some discussion, some good old fashioned wrestling discussion. I was talking about, I'm done talking about looking out for wrestlers and fairness for wrestlers. Now let's get back to the meat of why we like wrestling. Let's start arguing about who we think should be world champion. Hangman Adam Page and Chris Jericho are fighting each other at All Out to crown the very first AEW world champion. I want to know who you guys think is going to be the first AEW champion. And I put this out on Twitter earlier this week, and man, the reactions I got. Whoa. And I just put that out there, and it's fine. When I ask for reactions, I want reactions. I'm not going to start going, you're wrong, you're right, you're wrong, and you're wrong too. I get the reactions, but people are feeling very, very passionate about this, aren't they? It's like, as much as you have a very strong contingent for Chris Jericho, there's a lot of people. And we're like, the only answer is Adam Page. He's worked too long, and you don't put it on the back of a part-timer, and so on and so forth. I'm like, my God. Anyway, it created an outpour of reactions, which I really appreciated, because you do want reactions, right? You want people to react to your stuff, kind of like people in the chat right now. Let's see what people are talking about here. Daniel Price says, I want Paige to win, but someone, probably MJF, is interesting. Jericho's not winning clean. Carlos says Jericho. We got Aaron J's fan who says Jericho as well. CM Phil says, after last night's episode of Road to All Out, Hangman made a believer out of me. I think Paige is going to win. Kayfabe TV says Jericho. And by the way, the Road to All Out series has been very, very good in establishing the characters and the feuds. If they continue doing this type of formula in the on TV, it's going to be really, really good. It's going to be a good time. Anyway. And Tim says, I can't pick Jericho or Hangman. I like them both. They're both fantastic for very different reasons. But I think the correct answer is Chris Jericho. I really, really do. And it's not because I don't think Adam Page can be world champion for AEW. I think they've positioned, they being the creative aspects of AEW. I think they've done a great job to establish Adam Page as a true contender. However, you got to keep in perspective that right now they are on the cusp, they being AEW, are on the cusp of premiering their television, right? Getting on TV. AEW up until this point has existed within the wrestling bubble and has existed by pay-per-views, by events. There hasn't been really any stories long. There has been a couple. The Rhodes story, Moxley and Omega. There have been a couple of stories. I'm not saying there hasn't been at all. And they've started building Jericho and Page. But it's existed in this bubble where we all know who Hangman Adam Page is. Now, if they're going on television, they're clearly looking to try and attract new fans, not just people who have been following the Elite since New Japan and Ring of Honor. They want people who don't know who Hangman Adam Page is. They want to let them discover who he is. Chris Jericho does have name value. I wouldn't say it's mind-blowing mainstream name value, but he does resonate. If you stopped watching wrestling in the mid 2000s or something to that effect, you know who Chris Jericho is, and you'll remember. So if he comes in with the title, immediately off the bat you're like, well, okay, I know this guy and he's their world champion. Okay, all right, this works. And then if you take the time to establish Hangman Page week after week on TV, and you lead him into winning the world championship, I think it works much, much better than Page coming in with the title and everyone be like, who's this kid? Jericho's role in AEW is going to be to create new talent. It's going to be to create new stars off of his back. He has nothing left to prove. He's good. He's done everything that there has to be done in wrestling and then some. He started a wrestling cruise. His role is going to be to create the generation of AEW stars that will be able to carry the company for years. Hangman Page is, correct me if I'm wrong here, 28, guys. I think he's in his late 20s. The guy has the potential to be a multi-time world champion at this stage of his career. So I don't see any other outcome for All Out, or at least an interesting outcome, than Jericho getting a bit of a screwy finish, sure. Something that'll protect Adam Page, as Daniel Price says in the chat. Something that'll protect Page, make sure that he's not that he doesn't lose 100% cleanly. Page hits TV, you put him on some great matches, you give him some proper build so that the week-to-week viewing audience will get to know him. get behind him, and then lay into Jericho and then take the title. I really think that's what we need to do. When I say we, I mean AEW, because it's not as if I'm involved, as far as you know. But that's really it. And I understand that, there were some people who were saying, Page has been, he's been looking for, he's been overlooked for so long in Ring of Honor and in New Japan. He's never gotten the proper respect. And to a certain extent, I will agree. But we're not in New Japan anymore. We're not in Ring of Honor. We're starting over, and we're starting fresh, and we're starting with a brand new concept of wrestling that will need to be created and formed for people who aren't in the wrestling bubble like we are. And I think that's normal for them to do. AEW is putting a lot of stock into Page. They do believe he's part of their future, and I do believe it as well. And I don't think it's going to be like the idea of, they're putting it on a part-timer. They're doing Lesnar. They're doing Lesnar in AEW. That's not it. That's not what they're going to be doing, because Chris Jericho is a smart guy. And I think he knows what his role in AEW is going to be. And his role is going to be to create stars and to create champions. I'm convinced that's what's going to happen. And just to that point, CM Phil says Jericho also makes more sense because he has more potential opponents, but I really feel like that the belt will make Page. And I agree. See, and here's the other thing. This is an excellent point that Phil brings up. If Page comes in as champion, who's his first opponent? Who's the big heel opponent? Nobody knows who the big heels are either necessarily. Well, put him up against MJF. Don't burn the MJF match just yet. Not off the bat. That's the one you have to burn to, right? Page versus MJF? You kidding me? That's the one you build to. That's not the one that you strike lightning on. Oh, have him fight Chris Jericho again. Why? Sure, but I mean, it's a rematch and it's not exciting. It's not new, and it's something that we, the fans, have seen. Jericho is top heel. You can push then anyone as a credible babyface then afterwards. You have tons of them. You could have Jungle Boy try to take the title off of him. And then, have Jericho just mock the hell out of Jungle Boy or Darby Allin or, I'm going to tell you guys, I'm really excited to see what AEW has up its sleeve. I'm really excited to see how their mid-card develops, because I've said it before and I will say it again. AEW's mid-card is the attraction. It is so good. Luchasaurus, Jungle Boy, Janela, Allen. The mid-card is so strong. I can't wait to see just how they start booking this stuff. I'm really excited to see what AEW is going to be doing. I really, really, really am. I haven't been talking much about AEW because you can only speculate to a certain extent here, and because I don't want to get on high horses just yet. Look, I think this is the 5th time I said I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap up the show, but here, listen. All right. AEW's main event scene is fantastic. Great wrestlers, but they're all going to need like some major buzz, really great fights for us to get behind them. There's a lot of people that we haven't seen wrestle in a while, wrestling in programs for a while, but I mean, I'm confident they're all super talented. They're uber talented people. The mid card is fantastic. I'm worried about the women's division. I don't think that they've done a good job showcasing the women's division so far. I'm crossing my fingers that weekly TV will help out. I'm begging that the buy-in battle royal for the women at All Out, I hope it's great because they have lots of fantastic talent in there. But I'm really, really weary about the women's division. And I hope that they don't push Brandy too hard, because that will be a perfect way to get fans to turn on the women's division. Not that they don't like Brandy, but if it looks like nepotism and it smells like nepotism and it tastes like nepotism, it's probably nepotism. I want to say a hearty congratulations to the newly engaged Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, who I think from this point on we should call Beth. Or perhaps Sefki. I have a personal preference for Beth. Congratulations to the both of them. That was fantastic. And remember, guys, hey, look what just appeared. Look what just appeared right here. Right there. whatforapparel.com/I'm not dead. Buy the t-shirt. Leave me a tip at tinyurl.com/tip Warren. Great ways to support the show. And also, don't forget the Queen of the Ring tournament that is being held right now at belltobells.com. You have to go vote every day. There's 64 women involved, and you have to vote every day because there's a bracket that closes every goddamn day. belltobells.com. Go check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, and also thank you all so much for joining me live this evening. We had a fantastic crowd once again. Thank you for taking the time to listen wherever it may be, YouTube, podcasts. Your support means so much. It really, really does mean a lot to my little, stupid little heart here. So again, so we'll see. So remember, I'm just trying to place everything back in my mind. Remember, stick around here on Tuesday, next Tuesday, All Out Predictions with Anthony Suter from SMARK to Death. On Thursday, I'll be back for another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Then Friday afternoon with Laura Morrow, NXT UK TakeOver Cardiff predictions. It's going to be a busy week. It's going to be a big week, but it's going to be a fun week. Again, thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for joining. And I'll see you next time.